In session 13 here, we're going to take a look at functions, and in particular, graphing functions with the coordinate system. First function that we have here is y equals x squared plus 2. Remember, x squared meaning x to the second power. We can graph this, but we're going to find out that this particular graph is not a straight line, but it is still something that we can graph nevertheless. So in order to graph the function, the equation for the function, first thing you need to do is make a table. And in this table, we're going to probably choose, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 different points in it. So the first thing we're going to have here is our x. That's our x row, and here's our y row. Now, oftentimes it's beneficial to choose x to be 0 and find out what that point is, because oftentimes it's pretty simple to calculate. So when x is 0, what's y? Well, let's go ahead and stick a 0 back in here for x. What is 0 squared? 0 squared is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. So when x is 0, y is 2. Next, let's choose the number 1. Oftentimes smaller numbers are also helpful for determining a graph. Put in a 1 for the x. What's 1 squared? Well, 1 squared means 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1, plus 2 is 3. So when x is 1, y is 3. Let's go ahead and choose x as being 2. What's 2 squared? Well, 2 squared is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. And we'll go ahead and choose just one more here. When x is 3, what's y? Well, let's go ahead and stick a 3 in here. 3 squared means 3 times 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. So when x is 3, y is 11. At this point here, we have 4 different ordered pairs, and that's enough to give us an indication here of what type of graph we're going to have here. Let's go ahead and plot these points. When x is 0, remember this is our origin. Our origin is the 0 point. It's where x is 0 and y is 0. But for our y point, we're going to have, or y coordinate, we're going to have 2. So when x is 0, y is 2. So there's that point right there. Our next one, x is 1, y is 3. So we come over here, start at our origin, and go over 1 on the x, and up 3 on the y. Our next point is x2, y6. So we come to our origin. X is 2 and y is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then next, our last point, when x is 3, y is 11. So x is 3 and y is way up here at 11. Now, if we were to connect these on a straight line, it wouldn't work. A straight line here would take the line over this direction and it would miss these points entirely. So it's just a smooth line that then you just draw on your own freehand, and you just make that line curve as best as you can. And if it's not an exact hit, that's okay. But that's the general idea. We have a curve here. And just as a hint, when you have a function or a formula like this, and you have x raised to a second power, you're going to have a curve. When x is just raised to the first power and there's nothing else other than constant numbers that are not variables, you're going to be getting a straight line. So here's the graph of the function y equals x squared plus 2. It's a curve. Let's take a look here at our next example here. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and show you how to label the spots, or the points, as we go. Remember, our y-axis goes up and down. Our x-axis goes across. And remember, the place where they two connect and join is called the origin. And the origin is where x is 0 and y is 0. And then let's just go ahead and stick on some marks. We'll try to make them as evenly spaced as we can. Once again, being exact is not what the issue is here. It's just getting an understanding of how to create this graph freehand, but then also being able to plot points and determine some general properties about what it is that we see on the graph. Okay, here's our function, y equals 2x. Remember, to graph this function, we need to determine several points. So let's go after 4 or 5 different points here. Remember, our x is going to be first, and our y is going to be second. We're going up and down now. So once again, it's usually a good idea to choose x as a 0 for one of your points. When x is 0, what's y? X is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, so when x is 0, so is y. Y is also 0. Let's go ahead and choose x equal to 1. When x is 1, what's y? Well, when x is 1, you have 1 times 2. Y is 2 when x is 1. What about when x is 2? Well, x is 2, that would be 2 times 2, that would make y 4. Y equaling that 2 times the 2. Well, what about when x is 3? Well, 3 times 2 would be 6, so when x is 3, y is 6. And we'll just take one more here. When x is 4, 4 times 2 would be 8. X is 4, y is 8. And there's our 8th one up here. We were short one. Okay, now let's go ahead and graph this. Our first ordered pair, when x is 0, y is 0, that's our first ordered pair. So that's our first point right there. Our second point, when x is 1, y is 2. So we come to our origin, go over 1 for x, and up 2 for y. So there's that point. Our next point here is 2 for x and 4 for y. So that would be up here. Our next is 3 for x, 1, 2, 3, and up 6 for x. Then our last one is x is 4, y is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the x's, and the 8 is going to be all the way up here. Now, even though it's not perfect, you can see generally that if we were to connect these freehand, we should be able to connect them all. And if you had a straight edge and you had good graph paper, you could actually see that all those points are in fact on that straight line. So here then is the graph for the function y equals 2x. And as we can see here, x is just raised to the first power. It's not raised to the second power or beyond. Therefore, when we have x just raised to the first power here, and it's not being divided or anything, we're going to have oftentimes a simple straight line. Okay then, quickly as a review, many functions can be graphed on a coordinate graph, and the most graphing of functions that you'll be dealing with in Algebra 1 will be of straight lines and smooth curves. Okay, that finishes up session 13 on graphing functions.